With inflation at a 30-year high and turkey prices soaring, Thanksgiving dinner in 2021 might end up being one of the priciest holiday meals on record.
I joke, but I'm not really joking, that every step of our supply chain has been under stress, and it has certainly seen increases in cost.
U.S. turkey farmers have been battered by a range of supply chain issues, including labor shortages in processing plants and higher costs in everything, including feed, transportation, and packaging materials. Those disruptions have caused turkey prices to spike. As of November 2021, the wholesale price of frozen whole tom turkeys weighing 16 to 24 pounds was $1.36 per pound, 18% higher than a year earlier. And according to analysts, turkeys are also in shorter supply.
There's definitely concern that there's going to be some shortages of fresh turkeys, especially this holiday. So we've seen quite a bit of increased demand.
One thing that you probably will notice at the grocery store this year is more bare shelves as we move into the holiday season. That doesn't necessarily mean that we haven't produced enough. It just means that the supply chain disruptions have created more uncertainty along the system.
In October 2021, the supply of turkeys in cold storage was down 20% from a year earlier. More than 109 million Americans are expected to travel for Thanksgiving in 2021, and 65% of Americans expect COVID-19 to impact their Thanksgiving celebrations. So what can consumers expect when they shop for their Thanksgiving turkey this year? And what impact will the supply chain crisis have on the nation's turkey farmers? Brandon Cook is a fourth-generation turkey farmer in eastern Pennsylvania. His family got its start selling turkeys out of a pickup truck in 1939. By 2021, the farm was processing about 1.2 million birds annually. While no longer just a holiday seasonal business, Thanksgiving remains a critical time of year for the Cook family.
This time of year, October, November, we kind of ramp up production.
But 2021 has brought with it an array of issues for turkey farmers. Feed, which accounts for roughly 2/3 of the cost of raising a turkey, has more than doubled in price between June 2020 and July 2021 in some parts of the country. On average, it takes 75 to 80 pounds of feed, including corn and soybeans, to raise a 38-pound tom turkey.
The grain market has been especially volatile. Diesel, propane, packaging materials, cardboard saw a big increase in price.
Those extra costs have led to rising prices for the holiday staple. In September 2021, the wholesale price for frozen whole-hand turkeys averaged $1.36 per pound, the highest monthly price since the series began in 2006.
We're actually seeing really, really high fertilizer costs, pesticide costs, energy costs to produce anything on farm. And that has to be passed on to the turkeys, which is then passed on to the consumer when we reach our Thanksgiving table.
And it's not just higher costs that have impacted farmers. Shortages in trucking and labor are hurting their business too.
Trucking is a big challenge. We've seen the trucking costs go up almost double.
We are dramatically increasing our capacity this time of year, and we typically bring on a lot of seasonal help, and that has been very hard to do.
Those disruptions in turkey production are leading to fewer birds in stock. At the end of August 2021, there were 425.6 million pounds of turkey meat in cold storage, a 20% decrease from a year earlier. During that same period, turkey production declined 2%.
So it's not that we necessarily are producing too little, it's that we have a supply chain disruption that makes that supply chain take a different number of days to actually reach the end consumer. It's okay if it's a 100-day window, so long as it's a 100-day window that finishes the day before Thanksgiving. If it's a 102-day window and it finishes the day after Thanksgiving, well, then we're in trouble.
The U.S. is the world's largest producer and exporter of turkey goods, with more than 5.3 billion pounds of products made annually, according to the National Turkey Federation. In 2020, U.S. turkey production was valued at $5.1 billion by the USDA, up 20% from a year prior. And while a significant slice of that activity centers on small family farms, turkey production is largely concentrated in the hands of the nation's biggest protein producers.
Virtually all the turkeys that are produced and sold in grocery stores come from fairly large integrators, meaning companies that own the processing plant, but also contract with farmers to grow out those turkeys.
Butterball, the nation's top turkey producer, runs the country's biggest processing plant in Mount Olive, North Carolina, handling 17 million turkeys annually. Jennie-O Turkey Store, a subsidiary of Hormel Foods and based in Wilmar, Minnesota, is another top producer. With the coronavirus pandemic impacting its food service business and increased supply chain costs, JDO Turkey Store saw net sales rise in the fiscal year ending October 25, 2020 to $1.3 billion, a 0.7% increase from the year prior. Other leading turkey producers include Cargill Protein, Farbest Foods, Tyson Foods, and Kraft Heinz. In 2020, the pandemic forced Americans to downsize their Thanksgiving plans. Retail turkey prices that year were the lowest since 2010, but rising costs could make nearly every part of the traditional Thanksgiving meal more expensive this year.
If you can name the product, odds are there's probably some unique supply chain disruption that's happening to that product. Everything from cranberries to the tin that we're actually putting our turkey in to cook. This is the pallets that you have to load onto the truck that gets to the grocery store.
In October 2021, the Consumer Price Index jumped 6.2% from the previous year, according to the Labor Department, a 30-year high. The price of meat, poultry, fish, and eggs surged almost 12%. The American Farm Bureau's annual Thanksgiving dinner survey saw a steep rise too. It said a holiday feast for a family of 10, featuring turkey, stuffing, sweet potatoes, and pumpkin pie, cost $53.31 in 2021, a 14% increase over the previous year. The cost of a 16-pound turkey was up 24%. But are turkeys really getting more expensive? Rising prices are only half the story, according to Jason Lusk, a professor of agricultural economics at Purdue University, who says inflation tends to creep prices up every year. Comparing turkey prices with wages, Lusk calculated that in 1980, it took a worker making a median weekly salary almost 3 hours to earn enough to buy a 20-pound turkey. It took a 2019 worker making the median weekly salary an hour and 15 minutes. According to analysts, industrial farming techniques implemented in the 1980s have allowed turkey growers to produce and process the birds much more efficiently, keeping costs down.
Turkey production is an incredible story of agricultural technology. If you look at the cost that it takes to produce a turkey now versus in the 1980s, it is absolutely shocking how much that price has come down. I think that that's probably one of the most interesting parts about the turkey industry to me. We are seeing this increase in consumption, but it's not just because people are liking turkeys more. It's because the price is lower.
Turkey's status at the center of the holiday table was in large part thanks to the poultry industry's marketing tactics following World War II. About 240 million turkeys are raised annually on about 2,500 U.S. farms. Each Thanksgiving, Americans consume roughly 40 million turkeys, and by the early 2020s, about 88% of U.S. families were eating turkey on Thanksgiving Day. But why is the Thanksgiving favorite still America's fourth most popular source of protein behind chicken, beef, and pork? U.S. turkey consumption has nearly doubled since 1965 as the industry has transformed from a single holiday product to a vast array of food options, including sausages, bacon, burgers, and deli meats. In 2020, per capita consumption of turkey was just 15.8 pounds compared to 58.4 pounds for beef, 97.6 pounds for chicken, and 52 pounds for pork.
We're just waiting for some entrepreneur to create the turkey sandwich wars out there. Culture plays a big role in these things. Sometimes it's what our mom fed us when we were young, and that tends to influence what we prefer over time. But it doesn't mean we can't change. And you look at the course of chicken over the last 40 or 50 years, went from a meat that was consumed less than beef and pork, and now is the most consumed meat in the United States.
It has also benefited as Americans embraced a healthier lifestyle and viewed turkey as a more nutritious substitute for ground beef. Organic is another trend. In the mid-1990s, the Cook Turkey Farm began experimenting with birds raised with an all-vegetarian diet free of antibiotics. Today, its organic turkeys are sold at premium grocers like Whole Foods.
We don't pack our barns full of turkeys to get as many pounds as we can through. We found that to grow a great turkey, you need fresh air, clean litter, clean environment, clean water, and a good quality feed.
As a consumer, you're not eating any growth hormones, pesticides, antibiotics. You also have a concern for the animal that it had a good quality of life.
But despite those higher costs and more limited supply of turkeys this year, analysts say 3 things consumers can do to keep Thanksgiving dinner prices down are shop early, look for deals, and share costs.
So agricultural production is just very unique. It's one of these industries that it looks easy on the front end, but the more you actually dig into all of the different moving parts that happen on farm, it really does highlight why small farmers have such a hard time fighting through an industry.